everyone, it's Misty here from TheJollyFatElf. Welcome to another card in my 2019 holiday card series. So I'm calling these cards this week floating scene cards, but I don't know. You guys will have to let me know in the comments down below. So this one is going to be a little bit different. I wanted a scene on the inside and a scene on the outside. But I didn't want to add bulk with the addition of the cardstock in the middle. So that's kind of how this kind of went in with the series. So I have two pieces of the Wrapped in Plaid Designer Series paper. And I'm going to be punching 3 trees, and I've just lined them up together. That way they match, and I don't have to try to punch each one separately. It does make it a little bit harder to punch, but I think it worked out just fine. And don't worry, those trees don't go to waste. You'll find out what happens in Monday's video. So I realized that I needed a second piece of this gold paper, so I'm cutting down that piece as well. And this didn't go well in the beginning. Here I'm just trying to decide where I wanted to put the paper, if I wanted it to be behind the green or on top of the green. And I decided to go ahead and put it behind the green because, or on behind and on top, because I'm not going to add any pattern paper to the top of this. The last couple of cards, I have added designer series paper to the top, but I really wanted the middle of this card to stand out. And here was my first mistake. Using tear and tape. You want a strong adhesive, but tear and tape just didn't work out for me. If you're someone who isn't prone to being crooked, this will probably could work out for you, but I am prone to being crooked, like really, really crooked. So I go through the steps of completely adhering this with top and bottom with tear and tape, making sure it's all lined up, making sure that my things are going to fit without even realizing just how crooked this is on the card. And it's not something that I could hide. Like, it was like really, really crooked. Like, if I could have added ribbon or something on top, I would have done it, but it's just so crooked. So anyway, I'm going to go through the whole motions, and then you're going to see me rip it all apart because, again, it's really crooked. But I'm going to bring in a binder clip the bottom like I did the last couple of days, and then that's how I'm going to adhere it. Anyway, so getting this done, and I'm going to redo it again in a minute, but it's off, it's crooked, it's just wrong. So I'm going to rip it all apart. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't save the paper, and this is shaded sproof if I didn't mention that. But I was able to save the glitter paper. So I just took the tape of the tear and tape off the back. It did rip off some of the backer, but that's not going to be seen. So it's not that big a deal. But I went ahead and lined them back up, make sure, to trim off the excess, make sure they were straight, and not crooked, because sometimes we can make mistakes when we measure. We think we measured it exactly how it should be, and then we've made a mistake. But I'm just going to go back through the motions. And this time I'm going to adhere with liquid glue. So that's what I would recommend. If you're doing this, just use some liquid glue. It's a little bit easier. It'll make your life. Oh, and using the grid. That works too. That's kind of why it's there, so we can line stuff up. I'm just, even using this grid, I still feel like it was a little crooked, but I'm not going to tear it apart again. Like, wasting one sheet of paper was enough for me. So I'm just going to get it situated, and that's why I like the liquid glue, because I can move it around. I do tend to get glue everywhere, but if you let this dry and you bring in your adhesive eraser, it'll clean it right up. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere that gold paper on either side. Now you notice I haven't put any glue at the bottom, and that's because I'm going to slide that other piece of green inside of that. So it's the same on either side. And again, I'm going to go ahead and line this up on my grid, so hopefully that will help. You can see there on the right hand side how the paper is not completely lined up, but that's all right. It'll be okay. Sometimes we have to be, let that perfectionist part of us go. So I'm going to go ahead and bring the clip back in again, clip this to the bottom of the card, and then I'm going to adhere it with liquid glue. So again, this is probably, like I said, oh, I didn't clip it. a little overkill for this, but like I said, I didn't want it to be like 4 layers thick. Actually, this is 4 layers thick. I didn't want it to be 5 or 6 layers thick, so that's why I did it this way. Plus, I just like the way it looks. Call me crazy. I don't know. So I'm going to adhere this panel to the front, and then on the back, I'm going to flip it upside down. That way, when the recipient opens this card, the trees are facing them. So there you can see it's right side up when you open the card, but upside down if you open the front of the card. And here I'm using that adhesive eraser to get rid of all of the little adhesive marks. So I'm going to bring in a piece of Whisper White for my inside card layer and some gold glitter embossing powder. This is from Zing. I think Wow makes one too. But I'm going to bring in my Stamparatus and this powder tool that I complain about every time I heat emboss. One of these days I'm going to get a new one and you won't hear me complain about it anymore. Actually, I've thought about just like dumping all this powder into a little container and then just using using the brush to brush it on. So yeah, I don't know. You'll have to let me know what you think about that idea. So I'll line this up, or so I thought I did. And then I'm going to add some of this embossing powder, and then I'm going to heat set it, and then I'm going to realize it's really, really crooked. Again, I have the grid on the Stamparatus, I have the grid on the paper, and I still got it crooked. And that's what happens when I'm kind of frazzled, things aren't going my way. It's like once one thing kind of messes up, then it's a tendency for all of them to mess up. And you just have to keep going. You just have to keep going. You know, don't let it frustrate you. Or if you start to get frustrated, just walk away. You know, there's nothing wrong with having to take a break. Go get a soda. Eat some Cheetos. Whatever you need. Read a book. Whatever you do to relax. And then come back and finish it. So now we are on the right track. And I'm going to go ahead and heat set this. You can see there that I have where my fingerprint was. I'm just going to bring in a paintbrush and get that off there. Unfortunately, you can't see it because it was off camera, but I had to be able to see it. So I brought it up to my face. And here you can see when that embossing powder melts, it gets a little bit darker. So if you're using glitter embossing powder, that's kind of the trick, is to make sure that it's darkened. Okay, we're going to move this out of the way. And then I'm going to bring in the Merry Christmas from the stamp set. This is a perfectly plaid bundle. Did I mention that? This is the second time I filmed this voiceover. The first time, Roxy Super Catos came in here and started eating all the plastic that she can find. Because she's mad at me because I'm not giving her kitty loves. But I'm doing this voiceover on Monday, October 7th, which is the day before my surgery. And it's like, I don't have time right now. I'll have to love you later today. Let me get all this stuff done first. So heating that up with the heat tool, and then like this is on a piece of, I believe it's Real Red. It's the color that's with this. Maybe it's Poppy Parade? No, I'm pretty sure it's Real Red. There's a lot of Real Red this year in the holiday catalog. Last year, Poppy Parade was really popular. I guess probably because it was a new color. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere this with some liquid glue. And then I'm going to use my trimmer to trim off the sides. And I also had noticed that I had a little bit of hangover, so I'm going to do that. That's the reason why I'm cutting it off with the trimmer and not just with some scissors. And there I used a semi-damp baby wipe to kind of remove some of that powder. I wouldn't recommend doing that. Use your hand. I was worried about going over it with my hand because I didn't want to remove a ton of the glitter, so that's why I did that. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere the inside of this card layer, and that's going to be it. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you. Oh, here, I didn't cut this to the right size. I didn't care. I'm going to trim off the overhang and call it good. So I hope you guys enjoyed this week of cards. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget, all of the links are listed in the description box down below, and I will see you guys next week for another week of cards. Bye for now.